Good evening. The meeting is now live and is being broadcast and recorded. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Mayor of the Borough of Bracknell Forest Council, Janet Cochrane.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Council. I'm waiving the requirement in the Council Procedure Rules requiring councillors to stand when addressing the meeting, so please remain seated. The meeting is being broadcast and recorded. If there are any technical issues, please bear with us. I now declare the meeting open. Are there any apologies for absence?
I've received apologies from Councillor Karim, Councillor Christophe Eberle, Councillor Mackenzie Boyle and Councillor Frewer.
Do we have any other apologies? Please raise your hand and I will come to you in turn.
Councillor Neal will be attending, but she will be slightly late.
Thank you. Right, we come to agenda item 2 is to recommend... Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Bitt. Is there anyone joining us online?
I can see that we have Councillor Zahiruddin online. Can you confirm you can hear us, Councillor Zahiruddin?
Yes, I am joining online. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So agenda item 2 is to recommend for approval as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of the council meeting held on the 10th of September 2025. Anyone happy to approve? Right. Before I ask Councillor Temperton to second the motion, please indicate if you have an issue with the accuracy. Councillor Temperton? No?
Thank you. I'm very happy to second these minutes.
Thank you. So is there anyone joining remotely? Is it Mr. Did you?
No, Madam Mayor.
No, so there's no one at all? Just Councillor. Right. Right, as nobody has indicated that they have an issue, those are agreed. The full text for declarations of interest is set out on the agenda papers at item 3. Does any councillor have a disclosable pecuniary interest or an affected interest to declare? Please also declare the nature of the interest. No one? No? And no one online?
Nobody online, no, Madam Mayor.
Right, we now come to agenda item 4, which is the Mayor's announcements. Right, I've been very busy since our last meeting, but have enjoyed the varied experiences of meeting so many people from all walks of life and seeing the work they do to enrich and support the lives of others. Just to mention a few, I attended the charity boxing match in Southhill Park in aid of veterans, some of whom took part. I had my fists raised in the photograph, as you can see, but I was refused taking part as they learned I had lived in a tough and rough part of Glasgow and thought I had an advantage over their boxers. The Festival of Upholstery was an interesting event and made me a little nervous of my 3-piece suite as I learned of the dangers within. They are searching for safe ways in manufacturing products using natural materials. The Diwali in the parks was a great evening, full of dancing, fun and fireworks, and I had such a warm welcome from everyone there. The Binfield tennis tournament was great. The tennis club brings the community together and encourages the young and not so young to take part in friendly competitive matches. A lovely afternoon with some great people. Another event which takes place every year is the East Hampstead Memorial Service, a wonderful event which gives us the opportunity to remember friends and family we have lost in the lovely grounds of the crematorium. Lastly, we recently held a quiz in aid of my 2 charities, Stepping Stones and Pilgrims Hearts Trust, with our MP Peter Swallow as quizmaster, and we managed to raise nearly £400, so thanks to all who attended. Now to move on, we come to the report of the Cabinet at agenda item 5. Would Councillor Temperton please like to present the Cabinet report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have had 3 recent meetings, or not so recent, 23rd of September, 14th of October, and the 4th of November. The Cabinet reviewed the Council's performance for April to June 2025. Most actions were shown to be in progress and rated green. 93% of the actions are underway and 73% of the indicators rated green. 3 actions were completed, 4 actions had not yet started, and 2 of the actions have been parked. Of those actions in progress, 96 actions were rated as green, 18 as amber, and 1 as red. Progress against performance and contextual indicators across the Council was also very positive, with 66 indicators, that's 73%, having been rated as green, 8% as amber, 16% as red, and 3 indicators not available. The Cabinet reviewed the Council's current financial position. They endorsed a strategic response to address the projected budget gap of 18.75 million over the next 3 years. They also noted the predicted impact of the Fair Funding Review number 2 reforms and the Council's response to the Government's consultation on it. Cabinet approved the procurement plan to consolidate electricity, gas, water and energy services under a single framework agreement. This will provide value for money and contribute to the Council's environmental and social value goals. Cabinet approved the procurement of core case management systems for children's services, adult social care and education and learning. Taking these procurements forward together provides a clear line of sight across critical systems. It will give operational clarity, data transparency, and improve technical integration. Cabinet noted the progress of the joint venture from December 2023 to December 2024. Key highlights included progress at Coopers Hill, with construction completed and much needed new homes, including affordable homes now available. The Market Street development now underway with a significant proportion allocated for social rent and shared ownership. The feasibility and master planning work for the depot, Southern Gateway and High Street car park being carried out to unlock the next phase of the development. Together, these schemes are reshaping our town centre, attracting investment and encouraging future growth. Cabinet also approved the joint venture's business plan and budget. Cabinet delegated authority to the Executive Director of Resources and the Executive Director of People to negotiate exit from current provider and transition to new provider. The procurement process to secure long-term service delivery to be undertaken in line with the Procurement Act 2023. Cabinet approved using 2.86 million of Section 106 money to buy 8 larger homes for families on the housing register. The Housing Strategy 2023 to 2028 highlights a clear need for more 3 and 4 bedroomed homes. Buying 4 3-bedroom and 4 4-bedroomed homes will help address waiting times and reduce overcrowding. Cabinet approved an 8-week public consultation on the draft domestic abuse strategy. The strategy is aligned to the Council plan and has 4 priorities, which are prevention and early intervention, support for victims and survivors, pursue by holding perpetrators accountable, and partnership working. Comments and feedback on the draft strategy can be made until the 4th of January. Cabinet endorsed a 6-week public consultation on the draft vision, aim and objectives of the community strategy. Comments will be used to refine the strategy and the action plan. Cabinet also noted the consultation and engagement work carried out over the summer to shape this draft strategy. This included 2,388 responses to the engagement activity. Cabinet approved a 10-week consultation on the draft 0 to 25 years learning improvement strategy 2026 to 2031. The new strategy will replace the extended 2029-22 learning improvement strategy. This renewed vision emphasises partnership working and support for vulnerable pupils and those with special educational needs and disabilities. Cabinet approved the procurement approach for environmental service contracts, covering domestic waste collection, street cleansing and ground maintenance for council land, and street cleansing for Bracknell Town Centre. Contracts will run from 2028 to 2036, with optional extensions to 2044. Has anyone got any questions? Councillor Purnell?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Madam Mayor, am I allowed to make a statement and give some positive news regarding our food waste collection rather than asking a question?
Yes, by all means, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm delighted to share some fantastic news about the progress we've made in Bracknell with our food waste and recycling team. The team comprises of Donna Cox, Emily Slade-Baker, Claire Slatterly and Susie Rickard, and they are under the leadership of Claire Pike. They've achieved something truly remarkable, and they have successfully completed the rollout of food waste collections to flats 4 months ahead of schedule. This means that every property in the borough now has access to a food waste collection service through our partners Suez. This is a major step towards meeting the government's Simpler Recycling legislation introduced in 2024, and it puts Bracknell Forest in a leading position compared to many other local authorities who have yet to implement borough-wide food waste collections. And the impact is already really clear. Food waste tonnages have increased significantly and now average around 450 tonnes every month. That's 450 tonnes diverted away from incineration or landfill. And instead, this waste is being transformed into energy and biofertiliser, delivering real environmental benefits for our community and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purnell.
Are there any other questions or statement? No, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Templeton. The recommendation is for Council to note the report, so we consider the report noted. We now come to item 6, review of statement of licensing policy. Does any councillor have a question of Councillor O'Regan, Chair-elect of the Licensing and Safety Committee, regarding the report? Thank you. If there are no further questions, Councillor O'Regan, would you like to move the recommendations?
Yes, that would be my pleasure. So, the Licensing Act 2003 requires the council to have a licensing policy and also to renew it every 5 years. So that review is duly being carried out, which will take us through for the next 5 years. For those of you not familiar with the Act, it provides sort of 4 types of authorisations. So under the Licensing Committee, we look at premise licences, club premise certificates, temporary event notices and personal licences. And we have particular objectives that we have to achieve: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and protection of harm from children. So the proposed changes were put out to consultation, to Chief Officer of the Police, Fire and Rescue, licence holders and other persons or bodies that would be affected. So the consultation was duly done and was successful. And I would summarise the main changes to the policy was to make sure that we make reference to public safety, and that license holders receive training and participate in public safety schemes such as Ask Angela, which is where people are out on a night out if they feel uncomfortable, can seek assistance. Ask Annie, and also anti-drink spiking, and also the Challenge 25 scheme, where people who look up to the age of 25 are asked to carry personal ID so their age can be verified. So overall, a successful exercise, and I'm very happy to commend the review to the council. I'll now turn to the recommendation, and I will propose it, and I'll be asking for a seconder.
Is that seconded?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councillor Jeffries to second.
Right, would you, the seconder, wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to reserve.
Thank you. Does any councillor wish to speak?
Yes, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Please speak. Thank you.
The Bracknell Forest licensing policy provides a clear framework to replace alcohol, entertainment, taxes and other licensed activities in line with the Licensing Act of 2003. It prioritises 4 statutory objectives: preventing crime and disorder, ensuring public safety, protecting children from harm, and reducing public nuisance. The policy is administered through the Public Protection Partnership, balancing enforcement with support for responsible businesses. By setting consistent standards, it safeguards community well-being, promotes fair practice, and strengthens trust between residents, operators, and the council. Adoption of this policy ensures clarity, accountability, and confidence in licensing across Bracknell Forest, and I urge fellow members to support it.
Thank you, councillor. Anybody else wish to speak? Oh, it's Councillor Jodie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick one to say that the Public Protection Partnership does far more than what its title suggests, and I thank them for all the hard work, and I would suggest that any resident have a look into what it is that they do, because they're all around us all the time without really being seen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Temperton?
Yeah, I would just like to say that the papers clearly indicate where recommendations have been made as a result of the consultation, and the wording has been altered, and that's good, that the fact it shows that we're listening.
Thank you, Councillor Temperton. Would the seconder like to speak now? If you
Nothing further to add, Madam
No.
Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Reagan, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, so as you can see, we've listened to the public, and the relevant bodies. It encapsulates a lot of important work that perhaps we do take for granted, but nevertheless, I'm now recommending to the council that it adopts for publication the revised draft statement of licensing policy in accordance with the requirements of the Licensing Act 2003.
Thank you, Councillor Reagan. The recommendation is set out on screen. The Democratic Services Officer will count our votes, so please make sure your hand is clearly raised. Only those in the room can vote. Can all those present in the chamber indicate by raising your hand if you support the recommendation?
I believe that is unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So that has carried. We now come to item 7, Public Protection Partnership Shared Service Agreement. Does any councillor have a question of Councillor Jeffries? No one has a question? Thank Thank you. If there are no further questions, Councillor Jeffreys, would you like to move the recommendations?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the recommendations.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Councillor Allen, I'd like to second. Thank you.
Right. Now we'll move to the debate. Councillor Jeffreys, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
I would, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I strongly support the recommendations before us regarding the future of the Public Protection Partnership, a shared service that has since its inception delivered real value and benefit to our residents. The recent peer review conducted between October 2024 and January 2025 was clear in its findings. Our shared service is focused, effective, and provides statutory regulatory services that protect our communities. The review team praised the PPP for delivering efficiencies, resilience, and access to specialist expertise that none of the partner authorities could achieve alone. This is not just about cost saving, though these are significant, but about building a service robust enough to respond to unforeseen challenges, as we saw during the pandemic, and to tackle complex investigations to protect our residents and legitimate businesses. Let me be clear about the alternatives. Not renewing this partnership would mean losing the efficiencies and resiliencies we have built. Reinstating a standalone service would require a substantial financial injection, up to £300,000, plus the loss of grant income and risk of staff disruption. The economies of scale, the ability to access specialist skills, and the critical mass that allows us to secure significant grant funding would all be lost. Disaggregation would also mean a lengthy HR process, potential staff losses, and a real risk of service delivery. The governance of the PPP is strong, with oversight from a joint management board and the Joint Public Protection Committee. The new agreement will formalise Wokinham's full membership and update our governance arrangements to reflect the lessons learned and the recommendations of peer review. We are mindful of the wider context. Government proposals for local government reorganisation means that a shorter-term agreement to March 2029 is the right approach. This gives us flexibility and time to assess future options as the national picture becomes clearer. There are no direct financial implications to the Council for this proposal. Costs will be contained within the existing budgets. Legal due diligence will ensure our interests are protected and all relevant members and officers have been consulted. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffreys. Does the seconder wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
I'm happy to speak now. So I agree with everything that Councillor Jeffreys said, and I have to say that as the opposition member on the Joint Public Protection Committee, I'm really looking forward to having Wokingham back on board. I was disappointed when they left the partnership a few years ago, and there is strength in numbers. Basically, the more councils that band together, the better the efficiencies are and the lower the costs. So I think it's actually a really good idea to have them back on board, and I look forward to working with them in the near future.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Does any councillor wish to speak? Who's that? Councillor Harrison, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would like to support the motion as well. I had the dubious honour of chairing the Joint Public Protection Committee when Wokingham decided it was going to leave the partnership and do their own thing, and it turned out this was quite a lot of work for our officers to disentangle a number of services. I always thought it worked better with three authorities in, and it certainly does reduce the risk and spread the load and help us cover more bases and more skilled positions by having all three working together, so I welcome this.
Oh, sorry. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Jeffreys, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. In summary, this proposal is rooted in evidence, delivers value for money, and protects the interests of our residents. I urge members to support the recommendations and secure the future of this vital service. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. The recommendation is set out on screen. The Democratic Services Officer will count our votes, so please make sure your hand is clearly raised. Can all those present in the chamber indicate by raising your hand if you support the recommendation?
I believe that is unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, that is carried. We now come to item 8, schedule of meetings. Does any councillor have a question of Councillor Jeffries regarding the report? Oh, sorry, I misspoke. Right, are there any councillors to ask a question regarding the schedule of meetings? No? Sorry, if there are no further questions, Councillor Jeffries would like to move the recommendation.
I would, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Templeton. Now we'll move to the debate. Councillor Jeffries, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does any councillor wish to speak? Sorry, does the seconder wish to speak now, or reserve your right to speak later in
I'll
the
speak
debate?
now. I just see that if you look at the 5 supporting information, you can see all the things that have been considered in order that there's not clashes and that holidays are advised and recognised, and giving space between cabinet and council. So it's all there. So I think it's repeat of previous years, but I think it works well.
Thank you, Councillor Templeton. Councillor Jeffries, would you like to sum up?
Nothing further to add, Madam Mayor.
So, It's all mixed up. All right. Does any other councillor wish to speak? No? Sorry. Yes, right. The recommendation is set out on screen. The Democratic Services Officer will count our votes. So please make sure your hand is clearly raised. Only those in the room can vote. Can all those present in the chamber indicate by raising your hand if you support the recommendation?
I believe that's unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. 9. Review of balance and political opportunity. Hold on a moment. Sorry, we now come to item 9, review of balance and political opportunity. Proportionality. There we are, got there in the end. Right, and who's doing that one? Right. Councillor Templeton. Does any councillor have a question of Councillor Templeton regarding the report? Thank you. There are no further. Templeton, would you like to move the recommendations?
I would like to remove the recommendation as considered on the item 9. You would all have had the papers before you, and there's one thing that I would like to add to this, is that you will see the proportionality on the Overview and Scrutiny Commission is for 6 for Labour, 3 for Conservative, 2 for the Liberal Democrat, and 1 for either the Bracknell Forest or the Independent Green. But Overview and Scrutiny is a really important part of this council, and therefore I think it should actually have representation from every group that is actually on the council. So therefore the Labour group will lose one of those vacancies, and that's why it says TBC, and we would recommend that Councillor Haffajee be put on there as the Green councillor, represent the Green Party on Overview and Scrutiny as well.
Thank you, Councillor Templeton. Is that seconded?
Madam Mayor, happy to second that, Councillor Barnard.
Thank you, Councillor. now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate? Oh, sorry, you didn't hear me, did you? Does the seconder wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
I'm happy to reserve. Thank you, Chair. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Anybody? No? Nobody wish to speak? Right. Yeah. Right. Seconder, would you like to speak? No, Councillor, sorry. Yes, would you like to speak now?
Yeah, just have to say a few words in seconding that. I think that's a really important move because given the financial and other challenges Bracknell Forest Council faces going forward, I think it's important that there's open free representation that continues to contribute to the excellent working of the Commission, and I hope as that goes forward that it's able to positively contribute to the forward momentum of Bracknell Forest Council.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Councillor Templeton, would you like to sum up, please?
No, I move the recommendations 2.1 and 2.2 as put on the screen.
Thank you, Councillor Templeton. Right. The Democratic Services Officer will count our votes, so please make sure your hand is clearly raised. Only those in the room can vote. Can all those present in the chamber indicate by raising your hand?
That's unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, that is carried. We now come to item 10, Thames Valley Mayoral Strategic Authority. Does any councillor have a question of Councillor Templeton regarding the report? Does anyone have a question? No. Then there's no one online. Thank you. If there are no further questions, Councillor Templeton, would you like to move the recommendations?
I would indeed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is that seconded?
Councillor Purnell, happy to second.
Thank you.
The papers are very, very detailed, but I would just like to say that mayoral strategic authorities are the way the government is devolving power down into the regions. Along with the power comes a lot of money. Millions of pounds have been devolved into existing mayoral strategic authorities to support the investment needed for transport, housing, public services, job creation, innovation and skills. This investment has in all cases encouraged other investment and led to economic growth. The Thames Valley area is the powerhouse of the British economy and contributes billions to the national economy each year. We have lagged since the pandemic, but an MSA has the power to bring together local economies to drive growth and prosperity. The existing mayors are already sitting around the table with government ministers and winning investments for their areas. We are not at that table. We are missing out. The briefings we have had have illustrated the size of the prize, the huge benefits that could be achieved. All council leaders have agreed the wording of this expression of interest included on these council papers, and each is taking it to their councils to discuss, as we are tonight. This expression of interest is to let the government know we are wanting to open a dialogue about setting up an MSA. We are ready to engage, but it does not bind any council at this stage. I urge you all to support the recommendation to the Cabinet. If agreed, then Liz Leffman on behalf of Oxfordshire councils and myself on behalf of the Berkshire councils will sign the expression of interest and it will be sent to the government before Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor Templeton. Does the seconder wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
I'll speak now, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to second this proposal and commit this paper to the Cabinet for approval. The social and economic advantages of a strategic mayoral authority are clear to see. We should celebrate the collaboration of the local councils that have come together and all agreed that this is the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purnell. Does any councillor wish to speak? Councillor Smith, would you please go ahead?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Liberal Democrats have previously been quite clear in our concerns regarding this government's devolution proposals. We support genuine devolution of powers from Westminster such that decisions can be taken at levels closer to the communities which they affect. However, we remain concerned that at least some of the government's proposals will in reality have the opposite impact, moving powers which currently reside with local authorities such as this council to much larger authorities such as the proposed mayoral strategic authority. This will inevitably be less accessible and less directly accountable to ordinary residents. Whilst the government assures us this is not the intention, we have already seen proposals to the contrary. For example, the government's planning reform speeding up build-out working paper, published in May of this year, included proposals which, if adopted, would include, and I quote, an expanded role for mayoral strategic authorities in spatial planning. That sounds to me very like powers for strategic planning being taken away from the local authorities who currently administer that function and relocated so that decisions are made further from, not closer to, local communities. These concerns notwithstanding, we recognise the government's intention to drive through local authority reforms, regardless of their questionable mandate in this area. We do therefore agree that it is important that we work with neighbouring authorities to secure the benefits of these reforms, which include increased influence within central government and substantial additional funding for the region. For this reason, we will tentatively support the proposed expression of interest in relation to forming a Thames Valley Mayoral Strategic Authority, albeit with reservations. Specifically, we continue to reserve our long-term position until further details regarding matters such as the geographic area and specific powers of the proposed authority are made available for our consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Barnard, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. This is an expression of interest, as the leader has made clear, just merely indicates to government that we wish to pursue a dialogue. I think there are many unanswered questions about this, not least of the things which Councillor Smith have put forward. I think it's worth saying, though, in advance, though, that yes, there is money that comes from central government, but having looked at some of the numbers today, not quite sure how much that will be in practice. And actually, good, strong economic situations and circumstances, a growth agenda genuinely delivers the sort of investment that the Thames Valley needs. And I think it's quite interesting to note over the last year there have been not insignificant job losses in the southeast of England, and the Thames Valley has not escaped, particularly in the private sector. I think the Conservatives are happy to support the expression of interest at this stage, but hope and believe that there should be a very, very open and frank discussion with local community. Yes, there are potential economic benefits, but on the downside, as been indicated, there's a loss of local influence and control over certain key areas. And I don't believe anywhere in the country there's ever been a strategic mayoral authority that has cost residents less than the existing structures that are in place. So providing all those issues are considered, both the macro and the micro, the Conservatives will lend their support to the expression of interest, but would want a genuine debate with those things that, you know, really take this process forward, but at the same time, those issues which could cost the local authority and this local area, Bracknell Forest, autonomy and, you know, to our individual residents' cost.
Thank you, Councillor Barnard. Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm inherently cynical about the idea of creating new tiers of government, but thinking it through, all of these powers that are possibly likely to be devolved are already being exercised by government departments, and it may well help us to have more local decision making. The South East has some great strengths. It's also got some great challenges. We have some of the most congested roads, some of the worst motorways, and we have the biggest airport in the country, and we have no Western Rail access to that airport. So the public transport links to that are very challenging and cause a lot of difficulty. And we have a lot of people that work there as well. So there are a lot of issues that need to be solved on a more regional basis. If the government was dealing with that adequately, I would be less convinced. But I think a change of emphasis might be useful. So I will support this. I think the government is going to impose something anyway if we don't engage, so we better engage.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Did I see a hand go up? Yes?
You did indeed,
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, when I pushed my microphone. I agree with Councillor Harrison. The only thing I feel very strongly that, you know, I think the leaders said that Thames Valley is an engine for this country, but clearly we're falling behind. And one of the great things is to help local industry because we need jobs, and to invest into the IT sector here to make sure they are happy with future developments. I am concerned about transport, as Councillor Harrison outlined. I do think we need to look at rail transport. I think we need to look at links with Heathrow Airport. Clearly, we've got one or two roads we need to improve, and you can't do this on our own. So I think the only way forward is to go to a strategic authority. I'm sure the leader will fight very strongly for the fact that some of the planning, as Councillor Smith outlined, are concerns. We fight our corner, and there are some things which we need to stick up for Bracknell Forest. But in theory, I'm absolutely for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Virgo. Councillor Forster? Oh, Frost, sorry, beg your pardon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to add my words of support for submitting an expression of interest to central government for a strategic authority in the Thames Valley. As Councillor Purnell has indicated, strategic authorities with elected mayors are gaining more influence and funding, unlocking opportunities in their areas, and this has unlocked some transformational opportunities, especially in the north of England. And when it comes to some of the issues that Councillors Virgo, Barnard and Harrison raised in terms of planning issues, when negotiating for ourselves in the Thames Valley, central government is faced often with several unitary authorities and several council leaders, and that can often lead to piecemeal decision making and kind of sometimes we're not collaborating as much as we could be. So I think that also when Councillor Harrison mentions the possibilities of economies of scale when he was referring to the public protection partnership, I think the same is true of mayoral strategic authorities, where it can lead to more strategic thinking when coming to major decisions like transport that will help to unlock the opportunities available to us here in the Thames Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Frost. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Timberton, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much. The Mayor's Strategic Authority is seen by all the councils being consulted here. It's not seen as remote from the local councils or from the local residents. The people around the table here are thinking very much of being the MSA, the Mayor being like the captain of a team, where all the the local council leaders will be working together. They do not see the Mayor as not working in collaboration, where the leaders are there representing the interests of each of their residents and fighting their corners, but there is a huge prize to be won, and we think that the scale will enable us to achieve more. I urge you to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Timberton. The recommendation is set out on screen. The Democratic Services Officer will count our votes. Please raise your hand if you support the recommendation.
I believe that is unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, that is carried. Right, agenda item 11 is questions submitted under Council Procedure Rule 10. We have received notice of 8 questions which are set out at item 11 at the beginning of your agenda and will be displayed on the screen. The response from the relevant Cabinet member to the question has been published as a supplementary to the agenda. Both the question and response will be taken as read. Councillors can only ask one supplementary question which should raise directly from the published response and be succinct. The first question is from Councillor Robertson to Councillor Bidwell, Cabinet Member for Economy and Regeneration. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Robertson, would you please ask your supplementary question?
I have a supplementary question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. and I thank Councillor Bidwell for the detailed response. Sadly, Bracknell Forest Council didn't have the foresight to contact Crowthorne Empowered Council Office on the changes to the established funding that Crowthorne Empowered Council received from Bracknell Forest Council. And the news of the funding cut came from an organisation called Churches Together in Crowthorne. So Crowthorne Empowered Council would like to understand if Bracknell Forest Council are aware of any cut for other funding sources that could be coming for the financial year 2026-27, which have not yet been communicated to the Empowered Council. And Bracknell Forest Council presumed that Crowthorne Empowered Council would either cover the funding shortfall or have to drop the service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. Councillor Bidwell, could you please respond?
Thank you for that. As I responded, it's unclear whether there is going to be any additional funding. We are looking, but of course we've got a very serious challenge coming down the line with the budget and the, ironically, fair funding review. So, but I will keep him in touch and I will write to him personally when and if we can get some additional funding.
Thank you, Councillor Bidwell. The second question is by Councillor Gore to Councillor Gilby, Cabinet Member for Planning, Transport and Countryside. Councillor Gore, could you please ask your supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Gilby for his answer to my question. The supplementary narrows down the part of the question that I want to progress. So to give some context, Winkfield and Moorfield East, like other areas in Bracknell Forest, are expecting a raft of new development over the next few years. It's incumbent on all of us to ensure on behalf of the residents that there are robust consequences for errant developers. A developed site in Winkfield, which has had constant officer engagement for well over a year, still has incomplete works. Whatever system is in place, and despite the sterling work of the officer, would appear not to be working in this particular case. So can you please provide the details of the check and balances that are in place to ensure that issues are resolved in a timely manner, and also the definitive progressive route that is taken if there's persistent lack of engagement from some developers to resolve their obligations, retrospective and future? I'm sure you might not have the answer now. I'll be happy to take an answer in due course.
Thank you, Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Councillor Gore. You raise an important issue. You can imagine that I have received plenty of frustration from residents when it seems as if developers are getting away with bloody murder when it comes to developments. The reality is that we are working hard as an authority to keep developers agreeing to the obligations that they had set out to. Now, we have varying levels of enforcement action. As the answer had outlined, the initial level is cooperation, dialogue. It is important that we work with developers to find the optimum solution, but we do have a wide array of more powerful options available to us if developers are not fulfilling their obligations. Now, in response to the specific application that you're thinking of, I'm quite happy to meet outside of this to discuss your concerns in specific details and understand more thoroughly how we can progress a solution on the application that you're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gilby. Sorry, my voice is going, so I'll try my best. The third question is from Councillor Bernard to Councillor Temperton, Leader of the Council, as Cabinet Member for the Council's Strategy and Climate Change. Could you please ask your supplementary question?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much, Mrs. Temperton, Councillor Mrs. Temperton, for your response. At the last council meeting, I did ask actually that we would directly engage with Peter Swallow, the Member of Parliament, and alongside, I remember that when you became leader of the administration, you talked about openness and transparency. My question is, as we discussed in overview and scrutiny, that we are going to see a significant cut reduction in our funding of over £18 million, will you please now directly write to Peter Swallow, given that things are put in place, with a letter that you can share with the next full council meeting, so it is on the record how the Labour Member of Parliament, Peter Swallow for Bracknell Forest, who promised change to Bracknell Forest, feels about the fact that the very area that he seeks to represent is going to see a significant, over £18 million, I suspect, cut in funding. I'm sorry if last time I wasn't direct enough, but this time I'm asking for a letter to be written directly by you as leader and shared with full council at the first opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Councillor Timmerton, can you respond?
I've written down your request and I will get it sorted.
Thank you, Councillor Timmerton. The fifth question is from Councillor P. Sorry. Oh, sorry. The fourth question is from Councillor McLean to Councillor Bailey, Cabinet Member for Children and Young People. Councillor McLean, would you please ask your question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I detect a certain degree of reticence. At the beginning of the meeting, you expressed your living in Glasgow for a period of time. I think we all feel a little intimidated this evening. Yes, thank you, Councillor Bailey, for answering my initial question, and it may not surprise you to know that I do have a supplementary. I'm very concerned about this consultation, largely because it affects so many councillors in this room. Certainly amongst the Conservative group, we have young people who will be impacted in Warfield, Binfield, Growthorne and other parts of the area. I think residents are particularly concerned about the fact that a lot of money that has been paid to build this school was the price residents felt they had to pay to accept the new housing that's been built in Warfield and Binfield particularly. And it sticks in their craw to know that having cooperated with the developer to have these houses built with a promise of a school to serve the community, they're now going to be slapped in the face by the school if this goes through. So my supplementary question to you is, what actively can we do to demonstrate to the residents who've witnessed all the building in the northern part of the borough on the basis that they would have a school for their children to go to? What are we as a council able to actually do if the school determines that they are going to, as a result of this consultation, change the admissions criteria for this school? And what options are you prepared to consider if the school does this in terms of the involvement of that school in the life of young people and the council in the borough?
Thank you, Councillor McLean. Councillor Bailey, could you respond, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor McLean, for your question. You will see from my response that I share your strong sense of injustice here. I do. And you're not the only one that's brought it to my attention. As you rightly say, other councillors have also approached me about it. We are concerned, the council is concerned about this consultation, and I think residents will feel this strong sense of injustice. So we propose to look at it very closely and appeal if need be. That is our strength of feeling about this. So we won't let it go, and we'll make sure you're kept updated with whatever decisions we come to. Thank you.
The fifth question is from Councillor Thompson to Councillor Purnell, Cabinet Member for Environment, Community and Housing. Could you please ask your supplementary?
I would like to thank the Cabinet Member for her response. The member's reply says that there are only a small number of vacant homes within the Bracknell Forest Borough. Please may I ask what that number is and how that was sourced, and if known, the date or period that this relates to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Purnell, could you please respond?
Thank you, Councillor Thompson, for that supplementary question. I can confirm that 5 houses have been reported to the PPP, and that's within the last 2 years. These houses have been reported primarily by members of the public who have seen bushes overgrown, the house unkept, and reported it to the PPP. I would, in fact, encourage any resident who witnesses homes in disrepair or in this state to contact us so that they can be investigated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pennell. The 6th question is from Councillor Eggleston to Councillor Bidwell, Cabinet Member for Economy and Regeneration. Councillor Eggleston, please can you ask your supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Bidwell, for your response. This sadly removes entertainment from the town centre. So is there any update on using the space where the deck was supposed to be built just temporarily for ad hoc seasonal events for families?
Thank you, Councillor Eggleston. Councillor Bidwell, can you respond?
Well, the simple answer to that is no. So, as you're aware, there have been changes in the ownership of the Lexicon, and with that will follow their idea about what they're going to do with that place we can't call the deck anymore. We're keeping an eye on that. We're hoping to make contact very shortly, but I can assure you that we have plans in the future for making more community and family accessible locations within the town centre, especially in the Southern Gateway. We can't influence too much the Lexicon because, of course, we don't own it. But the advantage of the Gateway, which we are all excited about, is that we can influence that, and those plans will be shared as they come through.
Thank you, Councillor Bidwell. The 7th question is from Councillor Welsh to Councillor Pennell, Cabinet Member for the Environment, Community and Housing. Councillor Welsh, can you ask your supplementary question, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Pennell for her response. My supplementary question is, how are littering awareness campaigns evaluated or being measured for their success? And are they focused on all residential areas rather than just shopping areas? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Welsh. Councillor Pennell, can you please respond?
I thank Councillor Welsh for her question, and unfortunately that isn't information that I have. I can't see that I have with me at this time, and I will get back to you in writing with an answer.
Thank you, Councillor Pennell. The 8th question is from Councillor Bernard to Councillor Bailey, Cabinet Member for Children and Young People. Could you please ask your question?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much, Councillor Bailey, for your response, which I have shared back with the residents. My supplementary question is, Bucklers Park is clearly a growing and emerging, community in its own right, much as Whitegrove did 30 or so years ago. And I think having a primary school that serves almost as a nuclear part of that estate over time will become more and more important. So can I ask that your department does as much as possible to share understanding about the current situation and also what future might hold for Bucklers Park? I note in your response that there are primary school places available in 2 miles, and I'm sure all parents would like to know that according to AI, for a 7-year-old, it takes them between 30 to 40 minutes to walk 2 miles to school, but very much subject to motivation, terrain, the child's overall fitness level, and their desire to achieve said goal. So 2 miles can be quite a lot for some 7-year-olds, but I think we need to do much more to share information and seek views as that estate develops, given again, as we've talked earlier, about the significant amount of development around there and the fact there is a vacant site, which, as Councillor Bailey, you knows, is unlikely to see any development on any school form for the next few years. Thank you.
I thank Councillor Barnard, as always, for his interesting questions. I share his concern. Bucklers Park is a huge development, and I think parents have certain expectations, but we will keep abreast of this, and I'll make sure that he's updated with any developments. Thank you.
Can I ask you to update the local councillors, because I'm asking this in lieu of Councillor Mackenzie Boyle, who couldn't make this evening. Happy to be copied in, Councillor Bailey, but I think, make sure the ward councillors are very much in there. Thank you.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
Thank you. We have received a motion submitted under Council Procedure Rule 11 of the Constitution, which is set out at item 12 at the beginning of your agenda. The motion will be moved and seconded, and then we will move into debate. You will be able to speak once for no longer than 5 minutes. Councillors in the room will be invited to speak first. The mover of the motion will have the right to reply before the vote is taken. Councillor Welsh, would you like to move your motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And Councillor Eggleston, would you like to second the motion?
Yes, happy to second, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Welsh, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm moving this motion after receiving no response to my email dated the 28th of October to the Labour Whip. I have highlighted my concerns for my resident who complained about Councillor Watts, as I feel he has not been heard. He hasn't accepted the public apology as he feels it wasn't forthcoming and only provided after a breach was found. Sharing any resident's medical information without permission should not have happened, no matter the context, especially when the councillor had received GDPR and social media training. At present, Councillor Watts is still listed to remain as the chair on the Overview and Scrutiny Educational Skills and Growth Panel. How can she remain an option for this position, which carries an extra responsibility to guard sensitive information? I'm also concerned that Councillor Watts doesn't know the difference between information of a sensitive nature and publicly available information. She has not understood this in the past. If this breach happened with any councillor in a position of special responsibility, I would still be moving this motion. We should all be expected to uphold the same standards. Therefore, I am asking the council members to support this motion to lead by example. I would like for us to agree that Councillor Watts or any councillor in breach of the Code of Conduct is not to be kept in a role of special responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Welsh. Councillor Eggleston, do you wish to speak or reserve?
I'll reserve, please.
Thank you. Does any councillor wish to speak? Councillor Haffajee, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So Councillor Watts has made a mistake online, and let's face it, in this world that's something that's not that difficult to do. She's owned up to that mistake, she's made apologies, and she's already been through the council's process for dealing with issues such as this. As part of our standards framework, we have our Code of Conduct process and panel, which is how we deal with allegations of misconduct and impose appropriate sanctions of any breach. For this incident, I sat on the panel with two other very experienced multi-term councillors from different parties. We were joined by an independent, non-voting member of the public. There is more experience of Code of Conduct panels amongst that group than there is for other councillors. This is especially true of our illustrious chair for that session, Councillor Allen. After the panel hearing and the deliberations, the panel decide on potential sanctions which are both reasonable and proportionate to the case. We determined a formal apology was required, along with suitable training and referral back to the party RIP for their own internal processes. All our discussions and decisions were unanimous. We did not determine a need to refer the matter on to full council, i.e. here, nor did we feel that there was justified need to ask for removal from committees or from positions on those committees. I say again, these were unanimous decisions of the Code of Conduct panel, the panel we use for dealing with matters such as this. This motion is trying to undermine and make a mockery of decisions already made by the Code of Conduct panel. Anyone who votes for this motion does not respect our processes and the unanimous decision of that cross-party panel. I will of course be rejecting this motion, and I urge all others to do likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Forster, please.
As councillors, we all handle sensitive data on a regular basis, and it is important that we recognise the importance of GDPR, broader data protection legislation and associated regulations. We therefore welcome this issue being highlighted, and we encourage all councillors to reflect in their day-to-day duties on the importance of protecting the confidential data that our residents provide to us. In the incident referred to, it has been recognised that Councillor Watts fell short of the standards expected of councillors in the Code of Conduct. In such circumstances, the councillor's established Code of Conduct complaint is the right and proper way to redress these issues. Further to a thorough investigation by the monitoring officer, a Code of Conduct panel was convened, comprised of a cross-party group of experienced councillors, as identified by Councillor Hafferty. The panel determined appropriate sanctions. Councillor Watt has publicly apologised for her actions to the individual affected, and we understand she has agreed to comply with the recommendations of the panel. It is important that the Chamber respects due process and the decisions of the panel. We are concerned that the motion oversteps the mark with regard to that process, specifically in seeking to apply additional sanctions beyond those considered necessary by the panel. Such a motion, resolved by this council, risks undermining the authority of the panel and the integrity of the Code of Conduct process. We are also concerned about the propriety of the council passing motions which could be interpreted as pressurising the panel to take specific actions. It is an important principle of overview and scrutiny that this is an independent function which operates without political intervention or impartiality, operates with impartiality. More broadly, we have concerns regarding the political motivation behind this motion, which appears to be an attack on one Labour group member by two former Labour members, Councillors Welsh and Eggleston, who have recently broken away from this group. Since splitting from the Labour Party a few months ago, we have observed a pattern of public, interpersonal attacks from these councillors directed at their former group. For example, just in the last week, we have seen public social media posts from Councillor Welsh making various allegations regarding another of her former colleagues, Councillor Jeffries. We do not believe it is appropriate or seemly for this chamber to become embroiled in interpersonal spats between former and current Labour group members. Specifically on this motion, we believe that this is a matter for the Education, Skills and Growth Overview and Scrutiny panel, and only that panel. Having gone through due process, it is not for this chamber to undermine our constitution and certainly not to be a party to a personal vendetta.
Just a few more seconds, please.
Accordingly, the Liberal Democrat group do not intend to participate in this vote.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to repeat what has been said, but as Vice Chair of the relevant Overview and Scrutiny Committee, I have absolutely no hesitation and will do so if the opportunity arises to propose Councillor Watts to continue as Chair of that panel. Due process has been undertaken, and I can say for those not on the panel that Councillor Watts shows a huge amount of insight and sensitivity when dealing with issues relating to the education of children and young people in Bracknell Forest. I think it is the wrong sort of motion to bring to this council chamber, whatever the motivation might be or not be. I am not privy to that. But as has been said, due process took place. Councillor Watts has apologised, has fully participated in the process, and there were particular reasons why this went to a Code of Conduct panel. I hope, therefore, that this council chamber resoundingly rejects this and that we can actually ensure that we move forward. Councillor Watts, over the time I've been Vice Chair to the panel, has, I say, shown that insight, shown that sensitivity. We make mistakes as councillors from time to time. We go through due process, and providing I believe that we reflect on that, we should all be given another chance. It is a difficult and challenging place we work in, social media and other spaces, but in this situation I believe that the integrity and the supremacy in this situation of the Code of Conduct panel should be upheld. And I would actually call upon all councillors in this council chamber to demonstrate either that they support the motion or they vote against it, because quite frankly it is important that we send a very clear message. as to whether we support this. I will be voting against it and encourage all members of this chamber to vote against it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. Councillor Allen, please.
Thank you. Well, I have to say Councillor Haffergy and Forster actually said most of what I was going to say anyway, but I will say that I'm strongly against this because I think it undermines the Code of Conduct process. And that's something which we should not be doing. And this sort of decision must not be made at a council level. It needs to be made by the committee itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Penfold.
Right, most of what I was going to say has been said already. But as a member of the panel, Councillor Watts is forward-looking, has insight and has been guiding us to make quite a lot of positive progress in looking at some of the issues. She should remain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penfold. Councillor Gilby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no point to the Code of Conduct process if members are proposing to ignore its conclusions. I would like to state, as a matter of record, my appreciation for the work that Councillor Watts does. She's an exemplary councillor for her ward, and I have to say that councillors are typically people who have not been involved in politics before, and that was certainly the case with Councillor Watts. Councillor Watts, I think it's fair to say, has not been someone who imagined the life of a councillor before her, but she felt the call for community service, and whatever our political views in this chamber, I think we can all respect that. So I want to cast the aspersions of a member of the back row aside. I think Councillor Watts acknowledges that she made a mistake, has shown contrition, will learn from that, and will become a stronger councillor for it. I'd finally like to put on record my appreciation for the intervention by Councillor Barnard. I think in your intervention, you clearly showed the importance of putting council process over party politics. I agreed with every word you had to say, and I do appreciate what you said. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gilby. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to point out, actually, that we all make mistakes. It's how people learn, and if we're open to the lessons when we realise we've made the mistake, then we can learn from all of that we're asked to do. And I'm reassured to know that Councillor Watts has completed all the required apologies and actions to make reparations deemed suitable by the complaints panel, and I think it's unrealistic to expect anything else, even aside from everything that's previously been said about that. I think absolutely Councillor Watts is well skilled and experienced in the subject matter she deals with as a chair, and I think that is significant importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Pickering, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the wise words of my fellow councillors and the, I think, clear message this has given. I'd just like to add some words from my experience as the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Commission under which this panel operates, and of course speak in support of its chair, Councillor Watts, and get strongly against this motion. Councillor Watts has shown great dedication, knowledge, passion, as other councillors have said, in her work for this panel. She speaks at Overview and Scrutiny with real understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that we could sort of bring into action for this. I've seen firsthand, alongside all the other commissioners, the way that she tackles these issues and the way she speaks with real experience and understanding. Encourage Council to reject this motion and let Councillor Watts get on with the job that she's got to do. I hope this style of interpersonal attack isn't something that we are going to have to deal with at Council. It's not something we've seen to date, And yeah, I echo my fellow councillors in trying to put this to one side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Pickerton. Councillor Temperton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I read this motion, I was filled with regret and disappointment. Such a motion is so out of place here. As a council, we have done so well for the past 2.5 years to be tolerant and to treat each other with respect. Now this. The first motion put by the New Independents is a personal attack on a fellow councillor. Councillor Watts made a mistake on social media. She was called before a public and cross-party panel of the Code of Conduct. She was honest and candid and admitted the mistake. She was sanctioned and apologised. Councillor Watts sent a written apology and has completed all of the other sanctions imposed. She has learnt a hard lesson. During this time, Councillor Watts was subjected to a tirade of very hurtful comments on social media. This motion has the potential to reignite this onslaught. In May 2023, I asked Councillor Watts to be the chair or to stand for being the chair of the Education, Skills and Growth Overview and Scrutiny Panel. One of the priorities in our manifesto was to improve the journey for children with special educational needs. Councillor Watts has more knowledge of the needs and lived experiences of these children than any other member of this council. She has the knowledge, the understanding, the commitment and the passion to make the difference. She is the best person for this job. I trust all will oppose this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Temperton. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm approaching this from a slightly different perspective because I don't want to bring personalities into it. I was a little surprised to see this motion on the agenda paper, having been someone who's put motions forward for consideration to go onto the council agenda paper and having had them rejected. Because all this motion actually does is ask that panel to think about who chairs it. This has no binding impact on anything to do with the council. So its actual impact is extremely limited. I should like to think, as Vice Chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Commission, that the members of the panel are smart enough to make their own decisions about who should chair their panel. Let's not mingle it with the decisions of the Code of Conduct panel, because they were presented with evidence, they came to a conclusion, and we can't second guess that conclusion because we haven't seen all the evidence. The panel came out with a verdict, and as far as I'm aware, Councillor Watts complied with the outcome of that panel. But actually, this is a decision of the members of the scrutiny panel, which is currently chaired by Councillor Watts, and no one else. I'm not sure it's appropriate or reasonable for a motion to come before us tonight telling the members of that panel how to do their jobs. I think all of us on this council step up to a level of responsibility on becoming councillors to make our own informed decisions. I don't think it's appropriate for this council collectively to tell the panel what to do. I trust the people on the panel. If they want Councillor Watts to continue, she can continue. If they don't, she won't. But ultimately, it's up to the panel, and the panel must retain its sovereignty to make its own decisions. That's democracy.
Thank you, Councillor McLean. Councillor Frost?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say a couple of things in my role as Chief Whip and as Labour Whip as well. I want to apologise to Councillor Watts and to colleagues that Councillor Welsh felt it necessary on my account to bring a motion to full council that disregards established constitutional practice and council procedure. As Councillor Haffajee outlined, Councillor Watts has undergone a Code of Conduct panel, and to my knowledge, she has complied commendably with all aspects and recommendations of that panel. She referred herself to me as her whip. She has undergone any and all training opportunities presented to her. She has recognised that she fell short of the principles, the high standards to which she holds herself and to which we all hold ourselves. in this incident, and has made a public apology to that effect. The Code of Conduct panel considered the matter closed and recommended no further action on our parts. And I would like to add my voice to the others that demonstrate Councillor Watts to be a truly dedicated councillor, and the kind of councillor that we should see more of. She's not a professional politician. She's someone who saw a need for change in her community, wanted to speak up for her residents, and she does so, and she will continue to do so as chair of the committee. It's disappointing that the councillors bring the motion would use their first opportunity or first substantive contribution to full council to make a personal attack on another and to fly in the face of established council procedure. And I think, as Councillor Forster alluded to, I would caution against this becoming a repeated pattern of behaviour, because we are all human and we all fall short. I know that to be the case, and we're all colleagues on this council and hold ourselves to a high standard to which we sometimes fall short. And so I completely commend Councillor Watts, and she has my full support and the full support of the Labour Group to do a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Frost. Councillor Fergo, please.
Madam Mayor, I think the councillors in this room, it's quite interesting to listen to this debate, because there seems to be very much cross-party unity on this one. And it's good to see, and it just shows people outside that we don't constantly fight. I think this is very unnecessary. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's in some ways victimisation, which I hate to see on this level in this council, because I've never seen it before, to be honest. Even under the Conservatives, I might add.
Thank you, Councillor Virgo.
Well, we need some humour, my leader said, in my ear. Sorry, Madam Mayor, I didn't bring this to this level. I can't support this. Of course I can't. It's outrageous. I've known this councillor a long time. I support her. She brings up some great ideas. She has a field of knowledge I certainly don't have. So, really, we can't do anything but turn this down. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Virgo. Councillor Watts, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to try not to cry. I really appreciate, and I'm truly touched by all the support I have had, both in this chamber and out of it, from many parties. And thank you. I admit I made a mistake. I went before the panel, and I have done everything that they have asked me to do. I work really hard at being a councillor and a chair, and I hope I continue to do so with your blessing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Watts. Does anybody else wish to speak? Thank you. Councillor Eggleston, would you like to speak now, please?
Thank you. It's been really regrettable to actually have this motion brought up against Councillor Watts. Really, just from my point of view, due to the GDPR breach and the fact that the resident has not accepted the apology, and we could not get a response as to how the further training had gone and what measures were in place to ensure that it didn't happen again, because neither of us got any response from the Labour whip, sadly, which could have been a whole different conversation on this. But it just needs to be considered by any councillor, as most people know, that in the public sector, if you share any medical information, you are sacked instantly. It is just not something that happens, and I really hope going forward that this sort of breach won't happen again from any councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Eggleston. Councillor Welch, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, so in summary, as Councillor Eggerson has just said, this was never a personal attack. This is because we didn't get an answer, we didn't have a response. And as I explained, in moving this motion, I would have been sat here to move this motion had it been any councillor from any party. So this wasn't a personal attack, as it appears that everybody believes it is. It really was not. I believe we should have certain standards, and people in a position of extra responsibility, which she is as a chair, I think maybe that should be relooked at or considered in the future by everyone. Thank you. And I didn't mean to undermine the panel's decision. I didn't have an update, so I wasn't undermining the work of the panel for the Code of Conduct.
Thank you, Councillor Welsh. The motion is set out on screen for a vote. The Democratic Services Officer will count the votes of councillors in the room, so please make sure your hand is clearly raised. So please support the motion. Oh, no, sorry, sorry, do you? Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Sorry. Does anyone support this motion? Any against?
I believe that is 29 against, Madam Mayor.
Any abstentions?
And I believe that's 7 abstentions.
Right, so that has been carried. Thank you. Sorry? It's fallen. Oh, it's fallen, sorry. I beg your pardon. Oh, sorry about that. So, I'm not paying attention. So, right. So what do we do next? Right, so anyway, thank you everyone for attending this evening. I now declare this meeting closed. Could everyone remain quiet and seated until the Democratic Services Officer confirms that the live broadcast has ended?